The galaxy had seen many wars. Civilizations had risen and great empires had fallen, yet nothing compared to the terror that now spread across the stars. It was not a war of ambition. It was not a clash of kings or rulers. It was something older, colder, and far more dangerous. The enemy had no voice. The enemy had no mercy. They were called the Voric Swarm. The Vorics did not negotiate. They did not stop to enslave or conquer. They consumed. Worlds that shone with cities and culture were stripped to empty husks. Ships that once patrolled star systems were torn apart in silence. Even suns seemed to dim when the swarm passed. For centuries, the great races of the galaxy had fought. The Tyrol Alliance, proud and powerful, had once believed their fleets were enough. Their shining cruisers, armed with beams that could shatter mountains, had stood against the swarm. But one by one, those fleets were destroyed. The Valari Ascendancy, known for their wisdom, had sought to outthink the swarm. They created traps, illusions, and strange technologies to block the hive's movements. For a time, they succeeded. But the swarm learned. The swarm always learned. No one truly understood where the Vorics came from. Some whispered they were born in the void between galaxies, a hunger that crossed the darkness. Others believed they were a weapon, left behind by a forgotten master. But none of it mattered now. What mattered was survival, and survival was slipping away. The Galactic Council, a gathering of the oldest and strongest races, met in the central station orbiting the star Yethra. Once their meetings had been filled with color, sound, and debate. Now the chamber was silent. Rows of alien delegates sat in shadow. Their eyes, large or small, glowing or dull, carried the same emptiness. They had fought for generations. They had lost countless worlds. And now they had no plan left. A Valari elder, her skin silver like moonlight, finally spoke. Her voice trembled. "We are dying. Every fleet we send vanishes. Every colony we protect is eventually devoured. We have no answer." The Tyrol commander beside her slammed a clawed hand against the table. His scales shimmered with anger, but his eyes betrayed fear. "Then what do you suggest? Shall we simply wait for them to come here? To Yethra itself?" No one answered. The truth was clear. The swarm was not just winning. The swarm was unstoppable. In the far reaches of the galaxy, entire sectors had already gone dark. The people there had sent distress calls, messages begging for help. The council had sent what they could, but nothing ever returned. Slowly, those voices were lost. One by one, stars fell into silence. The Valari kept records, and the records told a cruel story. In less than 1,000 years, the swarm had reduced half the galaxy to ash. Half a galaxy gone, the other half waited its turn. Despair became the most common language. Even the bravest species, those who had sung songs of battle for millennia, now sang only laments for what was lost. Among the council members, one thought remained unspoken. If the swarm could not be defeated, perhaps it was better to surrender. Not surrender in words, for the swarm would never listen, but surrender in spirit. To accept the end, to go quietly into darkness, but even this was difficult. The proud races of the stars had never bowed to anyone, yet now they considered bowing to nothingness. And so the council sat, shadows in a grand chamber waiting for a death they could not prevent. Then, a strange thing happened. A signal arrived. At first it seemed unimportant. A weak message, transmitted from the edge of the spiral arm, the kind of signal often ignored in times of crisis. But one of the younger delegates, a small creature with bright eyes, insisted it be played. The council listened. The signal was rough, primitive compared to their advanced communications. The words were in a strange tongue, but their translator soon understood. The message said, "To any who can hear this, we come in peace. We are explorers from a small world. We seek knowledge, trade, and friendship. We call ourselves humans." The chamber remained silent. Humans. The name meant nothing. No record existed of such a people. They were not part of any alliance, nor listed in the old star charts. The Valari searched their archives. The Tyrol questioned their scouts. Nothing. It was as though this species had just stepped into the light of the galaxy, unnoticed until now. "They are too young," one delegate muttered. "They have no place in this war," said another. "They do not know what waits beyond their stars." The message repeated, cheerful and naive. "We are explorers. We seek friendship." The irony was almost cruel. While the galaxy bled, while ancient empires fell, This new species appeared with smiles and open hands. They did not know the doom that approached. The council, weary and broken, almost ignored the message. What use was there in meeting a primitive race when the galaxy itself was burning? But the Valari elder raised her hand. Perhaps, she whispered, they deserve to know the truth. Even if they cannot help us, they should not step blindly into the swarm's shadow. The council agreed. A reply was sent. Far away in the Sol system, humans received their first true contact. It was not the greeting of peace they had hoped for. It was not trade or partnership, it was a warning. The message told them of the Orcs. It told them of the dying galaxy. It told them to stay away. For many, such a warning would have been enough. To hear of unstoppable destruction, of entire civilizations falling, would send most species back into hiding. But humans were not like most species. On Earth, leaders gathered. Soldiers, scientists, and thinkers listened to the alien warning. Some were afraid, some argued for silence, but others saw something different. They saw a challenge. Humanity had faced disaster before. They had survived plagues, wars, and famines. They had built new worlds out of ruins. Their history was not one of surrender, but of resilience. And so, while the galaxy prepared for its end, humanity prepared for its beginning. Back in the Great Council chamber, the alien delegates spoke again. "They will not come," said the Tyrrell commander. "They will hide as any sane people would." But the Valari elder felt something she had not felt in centuries. A spark of curiosity. "What if," she whispered, "they are not like us?" And far away, under the light of a small yellow sun, humanity looked up at the stars with determined eyes. The galaxy did not know it yet. But the silence of despair was about to be broken, because the humans had heard the call and they were coming. The council had not expected an answer. To them, the humans were just a young and fragile species. They believed Earth's people would hear the warning, hide in fear, and never step outside their small system again. That would have been the sensible choice. But the reply came faster than expected. The humans sent a signal back, not filled with fear, but with curiosity. "We thank you for your warning. We understand the danger, but we cannot ignore it. We want to meet, we want to learn, and we want to help." The words shocked the council chamber. Many delegates thought the message was a mistake. How could a species so young dare to speak of helping? How could they, with their limited ships and small numbers, even dream of standing against the swarm? The Tyrrell commander scoffed, his voice sharp. "Foolish. They do not understand what they speak of. They will only waste our time." But the Valari elder leaned forward, her silver eyes calm. "Perhaps," she said softly, "but perhaps not. Despair blinds us. Maybe fresh eyes can see what we cannot." Reluctantly and more out of curiosity than hope, the council agreed. They sent coordinates for a meeting. The humans would be allowed to enter the council station. When the day arrived, the chamber was full. It had been centuries since a new species had been introduced to the galaxy. Even in dark times, curiosity was strong. The delegates waited as the docking bay opened. The human ship was nothing impressive compared to the smooth, shining vessels of other races. It was box-shaped, armored, built with practicality rather than beauty. It looked almost clumsy as it entered the station. Some delegates chuckled, but then the humans walked out. They were taller than many expected. Their bodies were varied, some slim, some broad, some dark, some pale, but all carried themselves with a strange mix of caution and confidence. Their eyes were sharp, always moving, always watching. The lead envoy stepped forward. His name was Captain Elias Grant, though humans had chosen the title envoy rather than commander. He bowed his head politely. "We are honored to be here," he said in a steady voice. "We know we are young among the stars, but we come with open hands." The chamber was silent. The humans were not as advanced, not as elegant, but there was something in their presence that demanded attention. The council began the introduction. They showed the humans the records of the galaxy. They showed them the maps of fallen worlds, the videos of the swarm, the endless destruction. Most species who saw such things broke into despair. Many had even refused to watch the recordings a second time. But the humans did not look away. Captain Elias studied every image. His eyes grew hard but not hopeless. When the recordings ended, he simply said, "Then we understand the danger. Tell us how we can stand with you." The council erupted in disbelief. One delegate, a feathered being from the Yurlan race, spoke sharply. "You are children. You barely left your home star. You have no fleets, no weapons of power, no history in the wars of the swarm. How dare you think you can stand against them? Elias did not argue with anger. Instead, he smiled faintly. Because we have always stood against greater enemies than ourselves. On our world, we faced disasters again and again. We faced wars that nearly ended us. We faced storms, famine, and even the breaking of our own planet. But we survived, and every time we were told it was impossible, we proved it possible. His words spread across the chamber, carried by translators into dozens of tongues. Some delegates remained unmoved. They saw only a reckless, naive species, but others felt a spark within them. The way the humans spoke, the way they refused to bend, it stirred something long buried. The Valari elder leaned forward once more. Perhaps they do not know fear as we do. Perhaps that is their strength, the Tyrell commander growled. Or perhaps it will get them killed. And us with them. The debate went long into the night. Finally, the council reached a decision. The humans would be allowed to send observers and limited forces. Not because the council trusted them, but because there was nothing left to lose. If the humans failed, it would make no difference. The galaxy was already dying. When Elias and his people returned to their ship, they carried news back to Earth. Humanity's leaders listened with pride. They knew they were being underestimated. But for humanity, being underestimated was nothing new. On Earth, factories awakened. Engineers worked day and night. Soldiers trained harder than ever before. Humanity did not wait for technology to be gifted. They learned. They copied. They improved. Alien engines were studied and rebuilt with human twists. Alien weapons were tested and reshaped. Humans were not the most advanced builders, but they were the fastest learners. What other races took decades to master, humans adapted in months. The first joint fleet operation was scheduled. A small human squadron would accompany an alliance patrol. The goal was simple: observe, learn, and return. But the humans had a different idea. Their ships, though simple in design, had been armed with strange modifications. Missiles, railguns, and weapons that no alien had ever used before filled their holds. Where other species valued energy beams and elegant shields, humans valued raw firepower and stubborn armor. When the joint fleet encountered a Vorik scout group, the aliens prepared to retreat as usual. But the humans advanced. Their ships fired with relentless speed, missiles streaking like falling stars. The swarm ships, caught off guard, were torn apart faster than anyone believed possible. The council observers were stunned. No fleet had won such a clean victory against the swarm in centuries. And yet here were humans, a species not even fully trusted, standing at the front. The news spread quickly. Across the galaxy, whispers began. The humans fought the swarm. The humans did not retreat. The humans won. For the first time in many generations, there was a story of victory, a real living story. And it was carried not by the proud Tyrell or the wise Valari, but by the young, reckless humans. Back on the council station, the debates began again. Perhaps they were lucky, some said. Perhaps the swarm underestimated them, others argued. But deep inside, hope flickered, the kind of hope that had been lost for centuries. In the privacy of his quarters, the Valari elder recorded her thoughts. They are strange. They do not fear death as we do. They are not careful but bold. They are not wise but clever. They are not ancient but young. And perhaps youth is what the galaxy needs. For the swarm has learned our ways, but it has never faced theirs. She closed her eyes, and for the first time in centuries, she allowed herself a small smile. On Earth, the humans celebrated quietly. They knew the war had only begun. They knew the swarm was far larger than anything they had yet faced. But humanity had stepped onto the stage of the galaxy, and they had no intention of leaving. The galaxy might still doubt them. But one truth had begun to take root. When everyone else had given up, the humans had stood up, and this was only the beginning. The Vorik swarm had never feared anyone. For centuries, their dark ships had swept across the galaxy like a storm. Civilizations fell, fleets broke, and planets were left empty and silent. But now whispers spread through the council and beyond. The humans had fought a swarm scout fleet and won. It was a small battle, only a minor skirmish in the endless war, but it had shaken the galaxy. Victories had been rare for so long that people almost forgot what the word meant. And yet the humans had achieved it. The question that echoed across star systems was simple. Was it only luck, or was it something more? The council called another meeting. The chamber, usually heavy with silence, was filled with tension. Delegates debated fiercely, their voices sharp, their eyes doubtful. "They are reckless," a Yearland delegate said, feathers trembling. "They fight like fire, wild and uncontrolled." "Fire burns bright, yes, but fire also burns out." The Tyrrell commander bared his teeth. "They are children. Do not mistake one victory for strength. When the swarm comes in full force, they will fall like the rest." But the Valari elder spoke softly, her words cutting through the noise. "Perhaps we are blind. The swarm has defeated us because it knows us, but the humans fight in ways we do not. They think differently. That may be their strength." In the end, the council agreed to send the humans into a larger mission, not as leaders, but as a small part of the defense. It would be the true test. The chosen battlefield was the system of Kethros, a trade hub near the outer rim. For centuries, Kethros had been rich and bright, its planets filled with markets, farms, and art. But now the swarm had set its gaze upon it. If Kethros fell, dozens of surrounding systems would collapse. The council gathered fleets from every race, gleaming Tyrrell warships, swift Yearland carriers, towering Valari cruisers, all assembled in orbit above Kethros Prime. Among them, a small squadron of human ships arrived. They looked plain, even crude compared to the alien vessels. No smooth curves, no shining patterns, only raw metal and heavy plating. Some of the alien crews laughed when they saw them, but the humans did not care. Captain Elias Grant stood on the bridge of the human flagship, Resolute Dawn. His crew worked with steady hands, their faces calm but determined. "This is it," Elias said quietly. "Our first true stand." Beside him, Commander Hana Ruiz nodded. "The council still doubts us." "Then let's give them a reason not to," Elias replied. When the swarm arrived, it came like a storm of black shapes spilling out of the void. Thousands of vessels, jagged and insect-like, filled the star system. Their silent advance made even the bravest alien hearts tremble. The council fleet formed a defensive wall. Energy shields flared to life. Cannons charged. "Hold the line," the Tyrrell commander's voice rang out across the fleet. "Do not let them break through." The battle began. The swarm hit like a tidal wave. Their ships crashed into the council fleet with terrifying speed. Explosions flared, and debris scattered through the void. The Tyrrell fought with discipline, their beams cutting precise lines through the enemy. The Valari spread illusions, confusing the swarm with false signals. The Yearland darted in and out, their small fighters moving like birds. And the humans? The humans charged. The Resolute Dawn and its squadron surged forward, weapons blazing. Railguns thundered, missiles streaked, and cannons roared. The humans did not hold back, did not wait for orders, they acted. At first, the council commanders shouted in anger, "Fools! They will be destroyed." But then something unexpected happened. The swarm turned toward the humans, sensing a new kind of threat. Their formations shifted, their ships moved to block, and in that moment, the other fleets found breathing room. The humans fought like no one else. When their missiles ran out, they improvised with modified drones. When their shields weakened, they angled their heavy armor and kept moving. When the swarm surrounded them, they broke free with sudden, daring maneuvers. Every alien watching could see it. The humans were not stronger, not more advanced, but they were unpredictable. On the bridge of a Valari cruiser, Elder Serana whispered to herself, "They are chaos given form, and the swarm does not know how to fight chaos." Hours passed. The battle raged on. The council fleet took heavy losses, but the swarm was not advancing as easily as before. For every council ship that fell, 2 swarm vessels burned, many of them destroyed by the humans. But then, the swarm brought in reinforcements. Massive hive ships appeared, dark and monstrous, bristling with weapons. Their size dwarfed the human squadron. The Tyrrell commander's voice broke through the comms. "Fall back. The hive ships are too powerful. Retreat to defensive formation." But Elias did not retreat. He turned to Hana Ruiz. "If those hive ships reach the main fleet, it's over. We hold them here." She stared at him, eyes wide. "That's suicide." "Maybe," Elias said. "But if we don't, everyone else dies anyway." And with that, he ordered the human ships forward. What followed became legend. The humans hurled themselves at the hive ships with everything they had. They used every missile, every round, every ounce of fuel. They darted in close, too close for the massive guns to aim properly. They struck weak points no one else had noticed. The swarm howled in silence as one hive ship cracked and exploded. Then another, but the humans paid dearly. One by one their ships were torn apart. The resolute Dawn itself shuddered under heavy fire, its armor melting, its engines failing. On the bridge, alarms screamed. Hana gripped the console, shouting, "We can't take much more." Elias's voice was steady, almost calm. "Then we'll give everything we've got." He looked at the stars beyond, his eyes filled with fire. "Tell the Council, humans do not run." At the last moment, just when destruction seemed certain, the other fleets rallied. Inspired by the humans, they surged forward. The Tyrell roared with fury. The Valari unleashed their hidden reserves. The Yurlan fighters darted like lightning. Together they struck the weakened hive ships, and for the first time in centuries, the swarm retreated. The Battle of Kethros was won. When the smoke cleared, the humans were hailed not as reckless fools, but as heroes. Their squadron was nearly destroyed, but their courage had saved the system. In the council chamber, silence held for a long moment. Then the Valari elder stood. "Let it be recorded," she said, "that today the humans have stood where none of us dared. They have shown us that fear is not the only answer. They have reminded us how to fight." Even the Tyrell commander, proud and stubborn, lowered his head. "They are reckless, but they are warriors." Back on Earth, news of the victory reached the people. Cities rang with celebration. For the first time, humanity knew it had not only joined the galaxy, it had changed it. The humans had faced the swarm, and they had not broken. The galaxy would never forget the first true stand. The victory at Kethros was more than a battle won. It became a symbol. Across the galaxy, fleets and colonies whispered of humans, this young, unpredictable species that had stood where even the oldest civilizations faltered. For the Council, it was a shock. They had expected humans to be reckless, maybe die in their first fight. But humans had changed the course of hope. The Valari elder watched reports with fascination, while the Tyrell commander struggled to contain a grudging respect. "They do not fight like anyone else," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "No," the Valari replied. "They fight with a courage that others have forgotten." Captain Elias Grant and his crew returned to the Resolute Dawn for repairs. Though battered, the ship remained operational, a testament to human engineering and determination. The squadron gathered, exhausted but alive. "We survived," Hana Ruiz said, shaking off her fatigue. "But we lost too many ships. It's not enough." Elias looked at the map of the swarm's known movements. Systems across the galaxy were still burning. "We know that. But now we have proof. Proof that the swarm can be beaten. That knowledge is more important than any single fleet." Humanity's ability to adapt was now clear. Where other species relied on long-studied tactics, humans thought quickly, modified plans, and tried things no one else would risk. That was the spark the galaxy had been missing. The Council, once silent and hopeless, began to change. Aliens from distant worlds requested human advisors. They wanted to understand how humans thought, how they adapted. Humans did not hesitate. They shared their strategies openly, though not without laughter. "You don't have to follow our methods," Elias told the Council. "Just be ready to change when the plan fails. That is all that matters." Other fleets began experimenting. The Yurlan started using hit-and-run tactics modeled after human fighters. Tyrell engineers added extra armor inspired by human designs. Even the Valari, masters of illusion and prediction, admitted that humans had opened their eyes to possibilities they had never imagined. The galaxy slowly was learning to fight again. Meanwhile, the Vorik swarm adapted. They had been unchallenged for centuries, and now the humans forced them to reconsider. The swarm's scouts were destroyed faster than ever, and their hive ships began shifting formations unpredictably. But the swarm was intelligent in its own way, a massive collective mind that could sense and react. The swarm was preparing for something greater. It was building massive, unstoppable fleets designed to crush entire star systems. The galaxy could see the signs, and fear returned, but this time it was tempered by a new force: hope. Humanity did not wait. Across Earth, engineers, scientists, and leaders worked tirelessly. They built faster ships, stronger shields, and weapons that could strike in unexpected ways. The humans studied the swarm's behavior with keen attention. Every pattern, every movement, every weakness was analyzed. "They adapt too quickly," Hana Rui said one day on the bridge. "Every time we think we understand them, they change." "Then we adapt faster," Elias replied. "That is what we do." Soon the humans led another mission, a strike deep into the swarm's territory. This time it was not just observation or a small battle. They were going to test a bold strategy, divide the swarm, and force them to fight on human terms. The Allied fleet was nervous. Many species were reluctant to follow human tactics. But when Elias outlined the plan, the logic was undeniable. "We may not have the largest fleet, but we can make them fight where they are weakest. We can force them to react. That is where we win." The humans led the fleet into a dense nebula near the system of Dracor. The nebula's thick gases and unpredictable currents made movement difficult, but humans thrived in chaos. Their smaller ships darted through clouds, guiding the larger vessels. They set traps for the swarm, using modified drones and energy pulses that disrupted the hive's communication. When the swarm arrived, confusion spread. Ships collided with gas pockets. Others misfired due to sudden energy surges. Humans exploited every moment, striking where the swarm least expected. The battle raged for hours, and the galaxy watched in astonishment. For the first time in centuries, aliens did not simply react. They followed the humans' lead. Back on Earth, people watched reports with awe. Humanity was no longer a small, distant species. They were the galaxy's hope. The victory at Dracor inspired planets across the stars. Colonies that had given up on life began rebuilding defenses. Fleets long considered lost returned to active duty, now confident that resistance was possible. The humans' courage was contagious. They reminded the galaxy of something long forgotten. Victory is not only about power, but about will and ingenuity. Despite these victories, the swarm was relentless. They struck again and again, learning from each defeat. But each time, humans found new solutions. They built fast strike teams, used feints, and manipulated the swarm's predictability. The aliens around them were shocked at how quickly humans could adapt and recover. Even small human crews could change the outcome of a battle. Where 1,000 alien ships might have struggled to break the swarm's formation, a single human squadron could create openings, forcing the hive to respond in ways that made them vulnerable. During one particularly tense moment, a massive hive ship attempted to break through the Council fleet's defenses. The Tyrell commander ordered a retreat, expecting inevitable loss. Elias's voice rang over the comms. "No retreat, not here. Follow my lead." Human ships darted forward, weaving between massive alien ships, firing at weak points no one else could reach. The hive ship shuddered, then exploded in a burst of black and gold energy. The Council fleet cheered. For centuries, no fleet had destroyed a hive ship in open battle, but humans had done it twice in less than a month. The Valari elder recorded her observations. "They are not perfect. They make mistakes. They are reckless. But they fight with a courage that turns mistakes into advantage. They do not fear failure. They learn from it. That is something the galaxy has lost." Even the Tyrell commander nodded in agreement, though he refused to say it aloud. The humans' methods were dangerous, unpredictable, and not elegant, but they worked. For the first time, the tide of the war shifted. The swarm could no longer strike without hesitation. Their movements were tracked, their attacks anticipated. Alien fleets inspired by humans began to hold their ground instead of fleeing. Every victory, however small, built confidence. Every tactic the humans shared spread quickly across species. The galaxy began to feel alive again. The humans did not claim glory. They fought alongside their allies, always leading by example rather than command. And that inspired even more courage. Yet the humans understood that the war was far from over. The swarm was still vast, its hive mind intelligent and adaptive. It would not surrender, and it would continue to threaten the galaxy. Elias addressed his crew on the resolute dawn. "This is only the beginning. We have turned the tide, yes, But the swarm is preparing something greater. Our job now is to keep learning, to keep adapting, and to prepare the galaxy for the final challenge. Hana nodded. Then we keep moving. We don't wait. We don't falter. We fight every battle like it's the one that matters, and the humans did exactly that. Across the galaxy, the Council began to shift. Fear was still present, but hope was stronger. For the first time in centuries, civilizations that had given up began to rebuild, train, and innovate. Stories of human courage spread like wildfire. The galaxy had found a spark, and that spark was human. It was clear to all. The humans were not just fighters. They were symbols of resilience, creativity, and courage. They were the embodiment of what the galaxy had forgotten, the power of will, the force of determination, and the brilliance of unexpected strategy. And as the swarm prepared its next strike, the humans stood ready, not just to fight, but to inspire the galaxy to fight alongside them. The turning point had come. The hopelessness that had shadowed the stars for centuries was fading. The galaxy was learning to believe again. Because the humans had shown the way, the galaxy had hope again. For the first time in centuries, civilizations that had once been on the brink of despair stood tall. Worlds rebuilt defenses, fleets trained relentlessly. The Council, once paralyzed by fear, moved with determination, and through it all humans led not by command but by example. Yet the Voric swarm was not defeated. It was only patient. Its hive mind had learned. The swarm adapted to every tactic, every strategy the galaxy tried. And now it prepared its ultimate strike, the destruction of the core worlds, the heart of galactic civilization. If the core fell, the galaxy would collapse entirely. Stars would burn out without defenders, empires would vanish, and countless civilizations would be lost forever. The Council convened, more united than ever. Every species knew the risk, every fleet understood the stakes, and every eye turned to the humans, the ones who had first shown the galaxy that victory was possible. Captain Elias Grant stood before the Council once again. His uniform was marked with dust, scorch, and the scars of battle, yet his posture remained unwavering. "We know what is coming," he said. "The swarm will strike harder than ever. Their hive mind will coordinate attacks on multiple fronts. Entire systems will be lost if we wait for them to reach the core. We cannot defend. We must attack." A murmur swept through the chamber. Attack? That was almost unthinkable. The swarm had crushed fleets in open combat. Even the Council's largest combined fleets had struggled. To take the fight to the swarm's heart seemed impossible, but Elias continued. "We strike first. We hit where they least expect it. We divide their forces. We force them to react to us, not the other way around. And we do not retreat, not until they are broken." Ana Ruiz stepped forward beside him. "It is dangerous. Most fleets will be lost. But if we succeed, the swarm will lose its advantage. We can end this war once and for all." The Council fell silent. Slowly they nodded. Humanity would lead the offensive. The preparation was immense. Humans studied every movement of the swarm, every weakness exposed in past battles. Ships were modified, weapons enhanced, and crews trained for weeks without pause. Allied species contributed as well. Tyrell warships added heavier firepower. Valari ships used illusions and decoys to confuse the swarm. Yurlan fighters acted as scouts, relaying information quickly to human commanders. And through it all, humans inspired their allies. Their courage was infectious. Each human ship, though often smaller and less advanced, carried a spirit of determination that no other race could match. The fleet gathered at the edge of the swarm's territory near the system of Zarathus, a dark region of twisted stars and asteroid fields. It was a dangerous path, but humans thrived in danger. Their smaller ships weaved through the asteroids with skill that surprised even the Council's veteran pilots. "Stay sharp," Elias said over the comms. "The swarm will be ready for anything. But they have never faced humans at this scale. They will not expect us to strike so boldly." Hana checked the scanners. Hundreds of hive ships, thousands of smaller vessels. "They have concentrated more than ever before." Elias nodded. "Then we make every shot count. Aim for command points, weak links, and communication nodes. If we disrupt the hive mind, we disrupt the swarm." The battle began with a sudden surge. The swarm ships spilled from the void, dark and jagged. The Council fleet hesitated for a moment, but human ships surged forward, leading the charge. Explosions erupted as human missiles streaked through the swarm lines, striking weak points no one else had noticed. Railguns tore through armored hulls. Drones disabled swarm communications. The humans did not retreat. They pressed forward relentlessly. The Council fleet, inspired by human courage, followed. Suddenly, what seemed impossible became achievable. The swarm faltered, confused by the bold, unpredictable attacks. Hours turned into a day, and the battle raged across space. Many fleets were lost. Many brave pilots sacrificed themselves. Human ships were destroyed. Yet each loss opened an opportunity for the next strike. At a critical moment, a massive hive ship, larger than any seen before, advanced toward the Council fleet. Tyrol weapons struck but barely scratched its armor. It seemed unstoppable. Elias made his decision. "Hana, we draw it in close. Use everything we have." Hana hesitated. "We may not survive this." "Then we make it count," Elias said. "We do not fight to survive. We fight to win." The resolute Dawn led a daring maneuver. Human ships feinted, drawing the massive hive ship into a trap among the asteroid field. Missiles detonated in precise sequences, while human drones jammed the hive ship's internal systems. Then, with coordinated strikes from the Allied fleet, the hive ship exploded in a massive burst of fire and energy. The swarm faltered, but the humans did not celebrate. They knew the battle was far from over. The swarm still had numbers, still had strength, still had intelligence. And now it would strike with fury. Across the fleet, alien species fought with renewed courage. They had seen humans lead by example, and their fear had been replaced by determination. Ships moved in coordinated attacks, striking in ways they never had before. The swarm found itself facing not just humans, but the galaxy united. Then the humans revealed their boldest plan yet. Elias addressed the fleet. "We will create a chain reaction in the swarm's heart. It will cost our ships, but it will destroy the hive mind. We have one chance to end this war. Every ship that can fight, fights. Every fleet that can strike, strikes. This is the final stand," Hana added. "We cannot guarantee survival, but we can guarantee victory if we do this together." Every commander in the fleet understood. This was the ultimate risk, but also the ultimate hope. The assault on the swarm's core was terrifying. Dark, massive vessels approached the central hive, firing relentlessly. Human ships darted in, blocking attacks and striking weak points. Their bravery held the swarm back long enough for the other fleets to take their positions. Elias and his team targeted the hive mind's central node. Missiles, drones, and railguns combined in a precise sequence, striking where the swarm could not adapt fast enough. The hive mind roared in silence as energy cascaded across its vessels. Explosions tore through ships, causing chaos in the swarm ranks. For the first time, the swarm did not know how to respond. The final moment arrived. Human pilots flew directly into the core, risking everything to ensure the plan worked. Every vessel's sacrifice created a chain reaction that spread through the swarm fleet. Hive ships collapsed one by one. Smaller vessels spun out of control and the central mind fractured. The galaxy watched as darkness receded from the swarm's territory. The swarm had been broken. When the final shockwave settled, the Council fleet cheered. Entire sections of space that had been consumed by the swarm were now free. Human ships, battered and burned, emerged victorious. Though many had been lost, the cost had been worth it. The Valari Elder's voice trembled as she recorded her observations. They came when the galaxy was dying. They led when others faltered. They fought when all hope was gone, and they did not fail. Humans are not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, but they are what the galaxy needed. They are the spark of life and courage the stars have long forgotten. Even the Tyrol commander bowed his head. They were reckless and brilliant. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated quietly. Their sacrifices had saved countless worlds, countless lives. Humans had entered the galaxy as observers, untested and underestimated. Now they were heroes, not because of technology or power, but because of courage, ingenuity, and unshakable determination. Captain Elias Grant looked up at the stars, his hands resting on the console. Hana Ruiz stood beside him. "We did it," she said softly. Elias shook his head. "No, we did it together. Humans, aliens, every species that fought with us. This victory belongs to the galaxy." And for the first time in centuries, the stars seemed to shine brighter. The galaxy had been on the brink of doom. Entire civilizations had prepared for extinction. The Council had lost hope. But when humans arrived, everything changed. The Voric swarm was no more. Fleets returned to their systems, planets began to rebuild, and stories of courage, determination, and resilience spread from star to star. The message was clear, and it would be remembered for generations. The galaxy was doomed. Until humans showed up, and the stars would never forget it.